Now, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to one of our most popular series on the channel, the best knives for a specific price. And this week, we're going to be back on track and not messing up by going in the correct order. And this week is going to be $500. So I'm going to set this right off the rip. $500 for a knife is probably some of the worst value you can get out of a knife, in my personal opinion. I think anything under $400 is extremely good. And if you don't want to spend anywhere from $500 to $700, at least to $700 for a higher tier knife, it's not really worth going in the range of $400 to $700 in my opinion. You're not really going to get a whole lot what you can't get out of it $400 and lower. And I think there's some really good budget options for those. But if you're willing to spend and wanting to spend a little over $500, or your budget's $500 on a knife, and that's what you want to go with, well, I got you for today's video. Now, today's video sponsor is, of course, Skins Monkey. Now, if you guys are unfamiliar with what Skins Monkey is, they are currently the biggest growing Counter-Strike Global Offensive trading marketplace for skins, which is absolutely amazing, with great fees as well. Let's just say you guys have some skins you're really not feeling anymore. Skins Monkey is the best way to trade them. In this trade, to be exact, I actually profited 18 cents, which doesn't seem like a whole lot, but considering it's a trading website, it's actually very good. Sign up today to get up to a $5 bonus, which is very nice. And if you never used the website before, well, you can use my code MANDO, go up to the top right, you claim that bonus. And if you guys want to deposit with real life cash or crypto, you get a 25% deposit bonus, which is very nice. Now, the first knife I want to take a look at is the classic knife fade for 447 US dollars. I think this is a really good fade. You can get a really good fade for under 500, which is pretty cool. The classic knife seems to be one of those knives that is slowly appreciating up in value, as well as people are starting to like it. I think what's probably going to happen, what we saw with the Nomad knife, the Survival knife, and the Ursus knife, more so on those, not so the Nomad, because the Nomad has been really unorthodox with that growth, for the value anyway. But I think people are starting to come across and actually starting to like this thing, slowly but surely, and I think this knife is going to be pretty popular in the future, but it's an overall pretty good looking knife. And once again, these are not based for investments, just solely based on the price what you can get for a knife nowadays. And of course, we have the Crimson Web for the Karambit for around $500, and it really depends here. You can get a really decent float one for $520 and a little more, but for $500, you're getting a pretty crappy Karambit in my personal opinion. If you're willing to spend an extra $20 to $30 on this, if you're already in the $500 range, you probably have some extra cash to spend. So I would definitely try and go with a lower float one. But you also have to remember, with a knife like this specifically, with an older knife in the game, it's a decent float, but the floats are pretty rare on these things. And to sell one of these things in the future, even on a place like Buff, it's going to be very difficult for you to sell this thing in the future for cash, even if you undercut it a little bit, just from personal experience. Selling knives for a lower budget of what they are in the market's always hard, and still is hard, rather than selling them at full price. So if you are going to cash out, that's just something to remember and look at. Now, next up, we have a field-tested Ultraviolet for the butterfly knife for $487. Now, I cannot believe this thing has grown the way it has and how much it has in the past year. I mean, this thing used to be a decently popular knife. I actually had this about a year back when I streamed almost full-time every single day, and it's a pretty good-looking knife. For the budget you're paying for, I mean, it used to be $390, now it's $480, so it is growing up in price. It's probably going to go back down here pretty soon. Just like a lot of these knives, they're most likely going to go back down once we hit December, January of next year, but that's a long time from now. But these knives are pretty good, and this one, I gotta say, it's probably the best value, honestly, on this list, especially if you want a butterfly. As of right now, not the best value on this list. Next up is a knife I never really thought would grow up to this price either, but it's actually really good looking, and this used to be $300 about a year ago, and this is the Talon Tiger Tooth for $460. Now, if you want a clean, nice looking yellow knife in the game for a Karambit looking weapon, or skins to be exact, this is the way to go. You get the whole nine here. You know, you get the white on the handle, you get the skin itself, which looks absolutely amazing on this thing, and for $460, this is a pretty steal deal in my personal opinion. It's actually something I've thought about picking up recently for myself. Now, next up on this list is for $490, and this is the Gamma Doppler for the bayonet itself. And this thing, you're not going to be able to get the best wear out of this thing. I go through right here all the different wears. You're pretty much going to end up with the crappiest phase. Now, phase 2 is one of the most expensive ones beside Emerald, and that's going to cost you about $700. So for an extra $200, you're able to get something like that, which I would definitely go with. That's why I was talking about earlier. This value of a video, or the budget anyway for this video for these knives, isn't very good. It's either you go for $400 and under, or you can't really spend anything until over $700, and most people aren't really going to be able to afford anything over, I would say, probably $400. The average Joe, anyway, who's willing to spend money into CS, who plays it every single day. I definitely agree with, and I'm with that fully. Now, for $485 and a little over $500 at $510 to $15, you're actually able to get a very nice M9 bayonet Doppler for a very good price. And you can find phase 2s on third-party websites over here in North America and Europe, like Skinport, Bitskins, CS deals, or like a phase 2 for $515 something, which is actually pretty good. So I would try and go for something like that if you're definitely going to go for it. Remember, if you get something for a specific float, it's going to be a little harder to sell down the line if you want to do that. Now, next up on our list, we have the Karambit Lore. Well worn for 480 bucks. I think this is a really good looking knife. You know, I would definitely go with the Tiger Tooth overall for $20 less for the Talon, but the Karambit Lore well worn, I would definitely try and go with a better float than what it is on the regular version listed on Buff. Once again, all these prices are based on Buff, so go check that website out if you want to. I have 2 tutorials if you don't know how to access that, to access Get Funds on there. An easy, fast way is to also to just sell TF2 keys you get from, you know, Skinport, other North American websites or in Europe, and then sell them on Buff. Next up on our list is the factory new Ultraviolet for $500 US. Now, I think this thing is really good looking. 1 and 2, if you have the right pair of gloves, it'll even look better. And of course, 3, I think this is a pretty rare knife overall. It's not the most desired knife. I don't think it's going to be stonks, you know, to the moon, but it's a pretty rare knife and it's pretty good looking overall. Now, I think the most underrated knife on this entire list is the minimal wear Urban Mast for $450 for the butterfly knife, of course. This looks absolutely amazing. This almost looks factory new, and especially something like the butterfly where the blade's so tiny but the skin really stands out, and this one specifically goes really well with something like the Hedgemaid's gloves, and I think it just looks really good and is extremely underrated for this specifically. And up last, we have the M9 Vanilla, of course, for $485. This is a really good looking knife. I can't believe a lot of these knives have hit the prices they have, but that's just the way it is. Let me know down in the comments what your favorite knife is on this list. Do you guys agree that these knives aren't really the greatest for the price? Because I am for sure in that boat 100%. And if you're going to buy one of these as of right now, be careful with the float for 1, but 2, also remember there's a lot of things going on with the market right now that are really increasing all the skins to an all-time high. We've seen an all-time high with the lower tier skins recently due to the new Chinese website called Upin. There's a new Chinese marketplace where you can rent skins very similar to Loot Bear, and that's caused a lot of the lower tier knives, some like these, like the Butterfly Urban Mast, the M9 Vanilla, even things like the M9 Bayonet Doppler, because they're such a low price, or were before, people were able to liquidate those like crazy. And that's another reason why the M9 Doppler is such a good option in my personal opinion, because it's very easily liquidated. If you ever need to sell it, you can sell it off the rip like that. But in my opinion, I know you guys asked for this and this is part of the series, but I would definitely try and stay away from these knives specifically. Let me know what you guys' thoughts are. Should I continue this series? Because that's another thing too I'm kind of deciding and on the fence about right now, because we can only go so far, right? The $100 range is great. That was a very popular video. The $200 range is great. The $300, $400, you know, I would say $500 is really a big increase from all those, right? And I don't think a lot of people can afford anything really over $500 or $600, at least not the average Joe playing CSGO. Let me know, should I continue this series or should I keep going up until like $4,000 or $5,000 when we kind of hit a peak for knives, and then we can start transitioning to knife and glove combos full time for this and replacing this series specifically. Love to hear you guys' thoughts and opinions. Have a good day, guys. I'm out. Stay positive, stay sexy. I'm out, guys. Peace.